Hello, everybody. Alex Everett here with COGconnected. I'm here with my buddy James Paley, and we have just experienced day 2 of E3.
That is correct. This is the second day, with the first being reserved for the good people at Electronic Arts.
Which we probably shouldn't count because it kind of sucks.
Come on. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. It was fine.
Right.
It was fine. It was great.
Was fantastic.
It was full of hardworking staff doing their best to provide a great
so moving on to
experience.
Day 2.
Yeah, okay, fine.
The far superior day. We experienced 3 press conferences today. We
two
had
and a half.
Good call. We started off with the Xbox briefing, which
sure
admittedly was surprisingly delicious.
I didn't taste it. However, I smelt it, and it was fucking fragrant. It was amazing. I was there. It was on my nose. It was in my tongue. That's backwards. It's fine. I loved it. Okay. It was good. It was a good time.
So what our viewers might not realize this, James doesn't actually own an Xbox One. I do. Was it enough today for you to justify purchasing an Xbox One?
Assuming we live in an alternate universe where I have enough time to dedicate to yet another modern high-definition gaming system, yes, it was.
It was pretty good. So tell me about, what was the highlight? Where was the highlight for you today?
This is going to sound pretty nerdy, but whatever. So shut up.
We're here.
When they announced Jump Force and I saw all those fucking anime characters beating the ever-loving shit out of each other.
Out of his, he was. The
I
Jump
stayed
Force.
in my chair.
You were
and
the Jump
beat upon my legs.
Okay, fair
like
enough.
a man in the paroxysms
you were
of
a Jump Force.
unstoppable joy. It was pretty cool.
And for me, it just looked like. Well, anyway, it's not for me, but clearly you're the audience. You seem pretty stoked for it. For me, I'm going to give you my first, the one that made me just fist pump. Yeah, Battletoads is finally coming back, at least in some capacity. We saw absolutely nothing. We got a little bit of some words.
On the
screen.
There was games shown with like footage, with like graphical demonstrations and stuff.
I can use my mind's eye, and I can imagine how magical Battletoads could potentially be when we're finally playing it, whenever that might be. Because apparently Xbox One doesn't need any games in 2018. We're only getting games in 2019, which I think was the biggest story.
You're starting to sound like a real negative Ned right now. Okay?
Possibly. I think the biggest detractor from Xbox's presser today, there was really not a lot of content coming in 2018. We got Crackdown 3, Gears 5, Halo Infinite. They're all in the future. And that's disappointing. What am I playing on my Xbox, save for that amazing DLC from Sea of Thieves? I can't even keep...
Don't be a dingus, all right? Listen.
I get it. There's fans, but...
Sir, you don't know what that content constitutes at all, okay? We know they're starting up with events. They've already done the Hungering Deep, and now they've got 2... big honking DLC expansions of a sort coming. I think one in the summer, one in the fall.
That's right. Yeah, July and September.
For all we know, they're gonna blow the doors wide open and have us awash in brand new content, new experiences. And while I admit that the Sea of Thieves experience is not necessarily targeted at this demographic,
you're not much of a swashbuckler is what you're saying.
No, Alex.
No, you're not.
I am not much of a make your own story, craft your own experience kind of player. I'm an impatient sort of human with limited time and resources, and I kind of like to be led by the hand down the tracks, down the rails, so to speak. And when they give me, when they say, oh, you can do anything in this huge, crazy world, I kind of like, do laps around the starting zone and then just sort of like drift off into the sunset, and then that's it.
So the next big news from Xbox's briefing, I think, was the purchase, them acquiring 5 studios, a few of which kind of were like they didn't already own them. Of course, I'm referring to Undead Labs.
Listen, okay. Sometimes it's happening. Sometimes it's officially happening. Sometimes it's Facebook officially happening.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just have to go to your profile page and change your status from "it's complicated" to "we own another studio."
Yes.
And it's important to go with the pomp and circumstance and ceremony in order to really drive home what's happening.
So I think, okay, so of the 5 studios that they acquired, without a doubt, the biggest surprise was Ninja Theory. I would assume, right? They've made some pretty phenomenal games. In fact, one of them was originally a PlayStation 4. I guess it was exclusive at the time. Now it's been over to Xbox One. But they've also made so many good games in the past. One that I'm hoping now under the umbrella of Microsoft is that we'll see a sequel to Heavenly Sword. That's what I'm really hoping for. It was one of my favorite PlayStation 3 games. Now Microsoft owns that studio, so I'm hoping that they'll consider that being their next big project. That's the hope that I'm hoping.
I predict differently.
Okay.
Maybe I'm being sort of a
Negative Ned,
negative Nancy, you know, negative I can't think of another N one. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I'm gonna be the negative guy and saying that Heavenly Sword is probably not getting a sequel. But I think that they will hopefully come up with some kick-ass brand new IPs because the team has clearly demonstrated that they're perfectly capable of producing such things.
Absolutely.
And this is just another opportunity to continue doing so with the full support of Big Phil and his fucking army of, you know, devs and people and such.
Yeah.
And together they're going to make some amazing content.
So the other studio I think would probably have taken people by surprise is the acquisition of, am I saying it right, Compulsion Games?
Yeah.
So We Happy Few looks and has looked fantastic since day one. Now I've played the brief preview that they offered, I think it was like a year ago. Less than impressed, but from what I gather is they put a substantial amount of effort. I mean, this game could potentially be another BioShock. I mean, it's that level of game design, storytelling, going above and beyond that, and it looks impressive. What we saw today looked impressive.
It did. I don't have a super tight grip on the mechanical aspect of it. Like, I understand that it has a sort of visual fidelity that harkens back to the BioShock series in particular, but I don't understand what the nuts and bolts are, what the guts of this thing is. Like, I get that people are you're wandering around this mad dystopian world where people are all hopped up on this crazy fucking drug, and joy, yes, and this sort of like puts a particular shade on things, but I don't yet have a clear idea. Perhaps this is just my own fault of like what the moment-to-moment gameplay is going to be like for somebody exploring the world of We Happy Few.
Right. And I think it from what I gather from my brief time with it, is really just exploring that world, meeting these people in various states, whether they're taking their joy or otherwise. So there, and I guess eventually the whole point will be, you know, how do you essentially save this society from this, I guess, oppressive force that is kind of imposing that everybody take this drug that makes everybody feel happy.
So are you suggesting that we're not just going to lock the entire population of the town up in a little room, cut them off from the supply, and let them kind of work it out train spotting style?
That could be a good option. Yeah, an alternate ending sort of.
Maybe in like separate rooms, they don't all murder each other.
Well, we'll see. Maybe 100 of them could be in the same room, and we could have a We Happy Fuel Battle Royale.
God, no.
Yes.
God damn, no.
I went there.
No.
Yes. Go for it, Compulsion Games. You could use that. DLC Battle
guess
Royale.
What every conversation we have had this entire E3 trip has eventually trickled down to? That's right. Battle Royale.
How do we turn this game into a Battle Royale in pretty much every context of every game?
With a hint of sadness and regret and an unfortunate lack of industry foresight. Now, I'm not saying that Battle Royale is a fad that's going to, disappear in a year, but maybe I'm also not saying that. But anyways, doesn't matter. Tell me, Alex, about your low point for the Xbox presser.
Wow. I touched on it earlier, the lack of games coming in 2018. I was, in the very least, expecting Gears 5 to be a surprise fall entry. The fact that I don't even think we got a solid release date for that one. Now, on that note with Gears, the fact that we're getting 3 Gears games, as a Gears fan, I am overjoyed that we're getting 3 seemingly distinctive, different Gears games. We've got the Gears Tactics, which is a brand new take on the franchise. Gears Pop, an opportunity for me to actually play Gears with my kids. That sounds fantastic.
Okay.
And then Gears 5, I mean, it looks amazing. It continues the storyline, but it looks like it branches out into Kate's character, which is great. But it's not coming this year. Crackdown's been delayed, as we all know. Halo's not coming this year. So I think all in all, my biggest low point is the lack of 2018. At least, I mean, the only exception really is Horizon 4, which looked amazing, but that's pretty much it. I really don't think there's really anything else of substance that's coming this year. I mean, they announced Cuphead DLC, but for me, Cuphead was, wasn't the greatest. I get there's fans out there. Don't hate on me too much. I was just not that big of a fan of it. Loved the way it looked. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. But there's that. But yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Strong words of a sort coming from Alex on the apparent total lack of amazing shit coming out in this year as opposed to the one that comes after. For me, this is kind of a weird little thing to get all up in arms about, and I apologize in advance, but not enough to not say it. When you were watching the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer from home, you might have noticed that during the in-game action sequences where you saw actual gameplay, you might have noticed that the frame rate kind of dipped or it skipped a little bit. You might have thought to yourself, hey, maybe something's up with the video feed, or my YouTube or Twitch connection isn't quite where it should be. Nah. I was there. I was in the room, and the frame rate did the exact same thing, but not in the the cutscenes where characters are having conversations with each other and whatnot, but only in the actual Action Jackson gameplay where we're watching the in-engine guts of the thing go to work, and it just took me right the fuck out of the moment. And I was and then to have Big Phil come out afterwards and say, oh well, games are just these games that just play better on Xbox One. I'm but I mean, unless they're Square
January
games.
29th is not that far away, is it? I mean, what month am I in?
June.
So
June,
the
June month. The June month. We're in the June bloom.
So they have 6.5 months. Square Enix has 6.5 months to refine Kingdom Hearts 3.
Now, to be fair, I might have just been noticing something that is symptomatic of the specific fashion in which they chose to present the game in question, and I'm sure it was a coincidence that the only other time I saw any sort of slowdown or skipping of frames was in another Square Enix title, but it doesn't matter. It's possible I'm a crazy person who's seeing things that nobody else who watched the conference saw, and I'm just the grumpy old Scrooge McDuck asshole pointing out things that don't actually matter, but maybe that's not good,
It's, oh yeah, well, I mean, I personally, I was tweeting at the time. I wasn't watching it. It's Kingdom Hearts.
Are you suggesting you don't care about Kingdom Hearts?
It's pretty low on the list of caring things. I mean, I get that there's an audience for it. I'm not the audience, so I wasn't really paying attention.
You're not the audience for Cuphead. You're not the audience for Kingdom Hearts 3.
But I mean, I have other games that I'm audience for. Like I say, you know, I'm a big fan of Gears and Halo. I mean, Halo, we didn't get a lot today. We got a very beautiful cinematic.
You know what really threw me off?
What's that?
Was they said at the very beginning of that, the thing that comes up on the bottom of the screen was something about like a engine demo, and I was like, is that what this is? Because it could be anything. You're like, it's an engine demo. You see some animals and some amazing backgrounds, and it all looks really beautiful. And you're like, this is a great tech demo for what the Xbox One X can do. And I kept thinking to myself, ooh, join now and buy yourself an X1X and you can get access to this tech demo. And then you see the fucking helmet and you're like, no, this is a preview.
Yeah. And I mean, that is, unfortunately, that's a little bit of a red flag. That suggests that we're not even close to Halo Infinite. We're not even close. I mean, I think in the very earliest, we might be looking at this as a holiday 2019 release, which is sadly unfortunate. I mean, it's already been 3 years since Halo 5, and, you know, Xbox and Halo they go hand in hand, and it's such a gap between, you know, main entries in the franchise. That's a disappointment. So it's disappointing. It's great that they're working on it. It's great that we got a name. It's great that we saw a little bit about it, but it's unfortunate. It's going to be a while.